Hi everybody, this is None Your Business. I'm out doing a First Amendment audit. I'm here at the Northwest District Station for the Toledo Police. It's a very small station. There really isn't a huge amount of patrol cars here or anything like that. I don't know if you can notice the mobile speed camera. There's nothing more our city loves than to go around and ticket everybody from little hidden things that hide behind anything. They've even been caught giving people speeding tickets for school zones when they in fact weren't even in the school zone. The police officer was sitting in the school zone, but you know, why should something like, you know, they weren't actually in the school zone matter? So they also have a couple cars that I don't see here. Another way that they generate revenue for the city is they drive around and they have multiple cop cars that have cameras on them that just go through and photo every plate, and all they do is drive along city neighborhood streets all over looking for cars that aren't registered. If I thought it was actually doing something real, I might be behind that because everybody should pay their fair share. However, typically they're just harassing innocent people and taking their money rather than actually getting cars off the street that shouldn't be off the street. So, back up here a little bit now, and you'll see the sign here for the D. Michael Collins Northwest District Station. We're on Sylvania Avenue. I don't see a number placard on the building, but there is one right in front of me that I'm staring at. So we're at 2330 West Sylvania Avenue here in Toledo, Ohio. The other reason I wanted to come here was to revisit this. I'm always interested in what got people started in their First Amendment audits. I know Philip from High Desert Community Watch is kind of related about how he was harassed. His son got interested in it, and this was one of two places that I came to, or that helped me come to the conclusion that our police are out of control. This was actually the first one. I came home one day. I lived not too far from here at the time, and I came home one day and somebody's boxer was in my backyard. And so he had a tag on it, but it was only the Lucas County dog tag, so it didn't have a number or phone number that I could reach someone. When I called the dog warden, they of course weren't answering, so I decided I would bring the dog over here to the station to leave it here and have them get in contact, since they have back numbers, which we don't have. And I went in through those doors right there. I left the dog tied to that signpost right there, thinking that, you know, I was doing a great thing. I was returning somebody's dog, yada, yada, yada. When I walked through there and finally got to talk to the desk sergeant, he at that time informed me that I had to give up every bit of information: name, rank, serial number, social security number, all that. And when I asked him why, he told me because that's how we do it. And any of you that are familiar with Ohio law know that that's not how Ohio law works. It's of course the usual suspicion of a reasonable articulate suspicion of a crime being committed, have been committed, or about to commit. And then the second part of that, of course, is that in Ohio there's also the added, if you've seen a felony, if you've witnessed a felony, they have a right to ID you. It's a little different than some other states with that information. But so I told him that I wasn't going to give him the information. At that time he locked the door behind me with his little buzzer and told me I wasn't leaving until I gave up all that information to put on a report. And at the time, I'll admit I wasn't happy, but I did it because it's kind of the get along, you know, go along to get along type thing. Well, had that happened today, he would have got a completely different answer from me, and he certainly would have gotten a completely different attitude, because that kind of started me off. And then there was a second one and I'm not going to say anything about it because I'm actually going to visit there hopefully tomorrow. I'm going to head out that way, and what I'm going to do when I head out that way is then I'll give you the second thing that happened to me that made me decide that I needed to get interested, and that's when I started looking up these First Amendment audits on the on YouTube and all over, Police the Police, so on and so forth. And I really didn't know that they existed. I just knew that there had to be something out there, so it was one of those, one thing led me to another, and then I found News Now Houston, and then High Desert Community Watch, and of course a whole bunch of other ones have come online since that point. So we've I've been watching them and wanting to do them, and as I said in an earlier video, I work an incredible amount of hours and finally have a 3-day weekend. So thought after doing some time with the family this morning with basketball scrimmages and all that out of town, that I would come and finally do this one, which is the one I always wanted to start with. And when I say doing time with the family, I don't mean it like a prison sentence. It means getting time, I should say, to visit with them and enjoy time with my kids, which I don't get too often. Unfortunately, my wife and I work opposite schedules, so we are typically two ships passing in the night. I'd also like to introduce somebody else. He's acting as my backup today. He'll let me know, although it seems to be quiet here, he'll let me know if anybody tries to sneak up behind me. Seats. This is my backup guy for today, and his name, we'll call him Karma. This is Karma. He's my beautiful German Shepherd. He is a full-blooded German Shepherd, meaning that he does not have any American German Shepherd in him. He is from Germany. His parents met all the specs to be considered part of the German club for dogs. So he wants everybody to know he has his papers. He's wearing his goggles or doggles to make sure nobody recognizes him. He does want me to tell you guys that he is not, I repeat, not an undercover canine. He's out here because he believes in the cause, because two dogs just got shot by Toledo Police a couple weeks ago. He also did want to tell me, or want me to tell any of the bitches out there, that he is single, and he is ready to go. He loves long walks and long car rides. He's fluent in both English and German, and he's a great dog, and he'll let me know. Trust me, nobody gets near me, nobody, without him letting me know. He is friendly, so if a police officer would approach me, unless the police officer would assault me, it was time to get it on, he would be perfectly fine with it, and he would not have a problem, so I'm not worried about it. I am a little worried for his safety because the police seem to have itchy trigger fingers when it comes to dogs. I've read multiple stories this year where they've killed dogs, including, like I said, the no-knock raid. So this police station, like I said, is where a lot of their policing for profit comes out of. The police motorcycles are put away for right now, but there's been a lot of problems with that because it's great. They're looking at generating $7 million in revenue this year from just a few handheld cameras. They're having problems in the state with the cameras at the traffic lights that do speeds because they have no police officer there to witness it. So now what they've gone to, along with those, is these new ones in which you must pay them. They are a standard traffic ticket, and it is punishable by law if you do not pay them, whereas with the traffic cameras, it was only punishable by a bad credit report because it was money owed that was not apparently legal to go after you under your driver's license or whatever. So anyways, it is Veterans Day, so here's our flag, and you can see the communications mast behind it. As I stated, the policing for profit is done right out of here. Millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. And it's all just disappearing into the general budget, into the general fund. We aren't seeing it. Our roads are terrible here. We are, according to the state of Ohio, in an emergency as far as the number of patrol officers that we have on the streets. I've talked to patrol officers who told me that they're just lucky that their cars even start when they come out. Many of them have headlights out, they have tail lights out, all things that us, civilians would get pulled over for. But of course, since they're city police officers, and this isn't even blue privilege, this is just the city saying, well, we're not going to pull our own people over, so who cares? And how can you collect these millions upon millions of dollars, and the one thing you aren't taking care of is your police vehicles, and you're not hiring patrol officers? All they're doing is putting officers on the street to collect money. That's the big thing. And like I said, that money disappears into the general fund, and none of it goes back to the police department. And for that reason, along with many others, I am completely against this taxation through theft with this in the name of people being safe. They have seen no reduction in speeds. I've done a little research. Everything I've seen, that if the zones aren't marked, then people don't slow down. Whereas like Arizona did a study and they marked the zones, and they found that there was and I'm saying this off the top of my head, like a 60% drop in speeders just by putting the signs up, let alone having the cameras there. But they just said, cameras ahead, half mile or 1 mile, and so on. They don't do that. These guys hide under overpasses. These guys will put a car out that looks like it's broken down and all that. And it's not for safety. They had a picture in the paper. They thought it was really cool that they took a picture of a speeder doing, I think it was like 119, 120 miles an hour. They took a picture of him. Now that guy's gonna get that ticket in about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And tell me how that kept the public safe. It didn't. And tell me when they do go into the school zones, when that person gets that ticket a week and a half, 2 weeks later, how does that help any of the children in that school zone at the time if people are speeding through it? It doesn't. And they've seen no lowering that they can point to. They've been asked to provide it, and they've seen no lowering of speeds in these areas because they hide. And like I said, when you're hiding and you're not making yourself visible, it's a revenue generator. It has nothing to do with safety. I can understand the red light cameras to some point. They have lowered dangerous accidents, and now they've just had a little bit more of the little tiny fender benders, but that's something that I can deal with. But when it comes down to these speed cameras, it's nothing more. And like I said, and I know you probably shouldn't get too political, but we're a city run by Democrats, and they cannot spend our money fast enough. They got this $7 million, and it did not even make them blink to have that money spent into the general fund and sent out. Meanwhile, our roads are crumbling. We have just terrible infrastructure, and they're coming up pretty soon. They're going to want to renew our 3/4% levy. We passed the Toledo City tax. It was basically 3/4%. A quarter was supposed to go to garbage, a quarter was going to the fire department, and 1/4% was supposed to go to the police department. And they've since taken off the garbage out of that 3/4%, and they've added that as another tax on our water bill. And now, so we're paying the 3/4% for our fire and police, and that's coming up probably next year or the year after. And I, for one, am about ready to say, hey, let's not pass this 3/4% temporary tax renewal. It's been a temporary tax for 20, 30, 40 years. I'd have to look it up. But let's not pass it until we have a resolution from the city that says they will no longer police for profit. You know, I only see the next step for them is civil forfeiture. And in doing civil forfeiture, they're going to do what a lot of places are, and it's going to be guilty until proven innocent, and you're going to have to prove yourself as innocent and then go through paying a lawyer to get your money back, because it's a huge money maker. And once this department sniffs out that they can make money, and I shouldn't even say this department, this city sniffs out that they can make money on something. And of course, we know we have all these businesses that run these cameras and run everything else. They, you know, run around to all these cities and say, hey, we can put all this money in your pocket. Let's fleece the taxpayers. Let's fleece them. And, you know, that stupid old excuse of if you don't do anything wrong, you don't have to worry about it. Again, I can't tell you how many times Toledo Police has been caught giving tickets where they're sitting in the school zone, and the person being ticketed is out of it. They've ticketed people in school zones when the school was closed. Ohio law is that children must be present. So just because the school light's blinking, you would think that the police officer would see that there was no kids coming to school, but some people just aren't that smart. They have been caught entering in the wrong speed into it, where they've said that it was a 25 when in fact it was a 35. Not too far from here in a town called Waterville. I might go out there on a later date. They got caught. They changed the sign because they didn't like that people would come into their city as fast as they were. So they changed the sign from a 55 down to a 35. And that was kind of the running joke, was that that sign wasn't legal. Well, guess what? The police officers started ticketing off of it, and there was a big lawsuit based on that, on the fact that the police department was ticketing people for speeding in an area that they knew was not a violation. Also, a small town, Berkey, Ohio, about 25 minutes from here. They had the same thing. We used to joke about it. I went through there all the time to go to my parents' house, and we called him Berkey Bob. And they had taken an area that was about 3 miles long that was supposed to be a 55 and made it a 25. And we're talking an area out in the middle of nowhere. There's like, in that 3 mile stretch, you might have 10, 15 houses, no businesses, no schools, no fire department, no nothing, in order for there to be a reason for it to be 25, other than people have a real hard time going 25 when you're in farm country and you're dealing with that. So guess what? It wasn't until a lawyer got pulled over and was given a ticket that he turned around and then sued them, and they had to change it. I'm not sure if there was a monetary settlement. I hope it was for every dime they ever made and then some, because again, policing for profit, not something that we as a country want to get into. Police officers should enforce laws for the reasons of enforcing law, not enforce laws to line politicians' pockets in their little pet programs and all that. And trust me, in Toledo we have a lot. Well, looks like everything's going to turn out fine here. I was hoping that my timing would bring me in about the time that they would do a shift change, but it appears that they may not be doing a shift change, or they may be working out of a different station, which happens from time to time. So, all right, this is none of your business. I'm out.